Wow, that looks super refreshing. That is my blackberry tea, and let me tell you, it is so good. Today's video, I'm going to show you my tips, my tricks on how I upped my game to get better drink pictures. So if you want to get better at drink photography, stick around. I've got my tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you so you can up your game. Cheers, let's get into it. Now the first thing we're going to look at is backgrounds, because they hugely impact how your drink looks, because glass is very reflective. The liquid itself is very reflective. So things in the room, especially what's underneath it and behind it, hugely impact how the drink looks. So I'm going to show you some examples of putting some black behind the drink, putting white behind the drink, and the busiest background I can find, ho ho ho, check out that Christmas paper, and we're going to see how it reacts and how it makes the drink look. So let's do some close-up here and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Busy background, white background, black background. Now what we're going to do is look at ways that we can get some light through the back of the glass to help illuminate it and make it look better. Without having to put a light or have a light source in behind, why don't we bounce some light back in? And here's some of the ways I do it. This piece here is, you can see how shiny that is. This is the top of like a Chinese takeout when you get the little foil tray. This is the lid for it, but you can cut them up and create your own little bounce reflector. What we're going to do is simply put it behind the glass and bounce some light back in on the glass. And you can even see that subtly happening there. I'll do a close-up for you so you get a better look on how we can play with it and we can adjust it. What I do is I use some of this sticky putty and I just simply stick it down on the table and then stand the card into it like so, and then I can adjust the angle that I want behind the drink so I'm getting maximum bounce of light or minimum bounce to whatever I want. Now, that is silver. That is quite bright. That is simply a piece of tinfoil that I wrapped around. This is the dull side of tinfoil. The silvery side back here is even shinier, so you can really up the light if you want to. Now, if you want something more subtle, why don't we simply go with a piece of paper? It will bounce some light back in as well. Let's get in close and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about and you can see how it looks on the black background. So even though we're shooting dark, we can make the drink look light and cool. Here we are. Nice up close and personal to the glass. So you can see I've just got the tinfoil stuck in that piece of putty. I put it behind the glass and watch what happens. Boom, look at that. Now depending on the angle that I put this, look at the way I can bounce the light. And I can control where I want the light hitting, left or right side, in the center, whatever, and it makes a big difference to our drink. Now, what happens if we don't want it quite so bright? We want a bit more diffused, kill a bit more reflection. There's the white behind, and you can see the difference that makes. We're simply cutting out a piece of white. There, I'm just simply leaning it against the back of the glass. You can't see it, but it lights it up beautifully. Now what happens if we're just trying to deal with some of the reflections that the glass is causing in the back that's causing us some problems? Well, we did do a piece of paper, but it's a little thick. How about we use a piece of tracing paper? It's a lot thinner, allows more light to come through, and I can simply put it behind. Tiny, tiny piece of tape, and it just adhere to the back of the glass. No problem. That way I'm stopping all the reflection. It's almost frosting the back of the glass. Oh, and if we want to frost the back of the glass, we can do that. We can use a product like this. This is Krylon. This is not the one you want. This is a clear glaze. I'm out of the matte spray at this point, but if you spray it on, you'll end up with a bit of frosting. And I don't know if you can see that on this glass here, but you can see where some of it is frosted and some of it is not. That works well, not only for adding a bit of matte and diffusion to it, but when you're making fake condensation, works brilliantly. But yeah, the matte version of the Krylon will give you, and as you can see by this, I've been trying to get it off for probably a year. It's a permanent solution to the back of the glass, so be aware of that if you're using the Krylon. But you can use like tracing papers and things like that in behind the drink, and it'll just subtly knock out any of the reflections coming from the background or from objects near or behind it. That will eliminate the problem for you. So you can see I created a busy background there and it's reflecting through the drink. Here's my little piece of tracing paper. I simply put it in behind. Gonna have to turn the glass so I can see what's going on there. and then I put that in behind, and you can see how that has now eliminated all the reflections and nastiness from the things behind it. So you can see just by me lifting that up how it's changing, and it's bouncing a little light through and diffusing the light out in the back perfectly. Now, since I mentioned fake condensation, that is another way we can up our game. I will put a link to a video I did down below which shows the technique perfectly. But basically, you're using the matte spray, you're taking a glass and you're taping off where you don't want the spray to go, because the spray should be only at the top of where the liquid is. You don't want it above and you don't want it below because it'll look weird. So you tape off where you want the spray to go. Then you give the glass a light spray, let it dry, you're good to go. Then we simply need to add on with a little spray bottle, a little glycerin and water to create that fake condensation look. I'll show you a close-up of just using the glycerin and water on the glass, and you'll see how the effect works. There's a drink with the spray bottle, and we're just going to give it a little spritz now. Came out a little more than I anticipated, but it has the effect. Let's zoom in close and have a look at how that looks. Now, another thing to help up our game, that is the ice that's in here. If you notice, we've been sitting here for a bit. It's not melting. Why? It's all fake. These are acrylic ice cubes. You can get them from your craft store. You can get them off Amazon. You can get them from photography suppliers. But be aware that I've heard these things can get up to almost $40 per cube. These that I'm using are about maybe $15 for the whole little jar. They work really well. Now, if they are very, very predominant within the image, you can tell that they're fake and they don't look quite right. So I always try and bury it within the drink, and I think it looks pretty good. I mean, check out this little slow motion of my tea pouring. Oh, that looks so good, so refreshing, and that ice looks clear, crystal, and cold. I think it works well. So you can get variations of this and different sizes from crushed ice up into the cubes, and you can even get different shapes even into the round. So we can add our fake condensation with our fake ice, and that will up our game. Now, another trick that I do, you can see the drink here and it's fairly translucent. But here's the original drink. It's quite dark. It's really hard to get light through it. Solution? I simply added some water, diluted it down. Look at the close-up. Look at the difference between the two. One is not letting light through. The other is translucent and looks golden and beautiful. So if you're using a drink, say like Coke or Pepsi or coffee or dark tea, then thin it down with a little bit of water and you will have that look. If you want to keep the bubbly appearance going, how about club soda? It's a clear liquid and it still keeps the bubbles and will give you the fizz that you want in your drink. So that's a simple little trick that I do, is I dilute down the liquid so I can get the light through and make it look golden, beautiful, whatever color the drink happens to be. So there's all my tips and tricks and everything to this. Now I am going to create another video and it'll be more on the styling aspect of it. Some garnishes, rimming, all kinds of stuff that'll really help up your game. This is more the technical aspect and how we can create things looking a little different. Now I will give you one little extra bonus little tip. Play with your lighting. Try hard lighting. Try soft lighting. See what you prefer. I'm noticing a trend of a lot of hard lighting within product and drink photography. So it might be something worth looking into and see what you think about it. But that's it for this one. That was my hot tips and tricks to help up your drink game. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you're aware when I post new videos like this. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. So, until the next time. Cheers. That is some good blackberry tea.